To remember, Bill, there was a lot of heat on the shoulders of Mike McCarthy. Just how tenuous was his situation back in early to mid-November?
Yeah, I don't think it was that much. Look, they've gone to the playoffs eight straight years, and now it was 7 at the time, and it was only Green Bay and New England that had gone the last 7 years. So I mean, he wasn't going anywhere. And you looked, I mentioned all the injuries. I considered doing it's time to back when they were 4 and 6. I was considering doing it's time to make changes, Kyle, if this continues. And I was going to point to McCarthy. Maybe he's run his course, and general manager Ted Thompson. And I was running. I'm thinking, well, none of this is McCarthy's fault. I mean, it was personnel issues, and if people wanted to criticize the general manager Ted Thompson, I thought that was certainly fair game for some of the lack of moves they made. I mentioned all the corners being out. Well, he didn't sign a corner, so I thought some of that was fair game. But as I sat down to plan the story, I thought, well, shoot, if you're Mike McCarthy, what are you going to do when all your defense is hurt? And they played 3 games literally without a running back on the roster. They had a fullback. They had a fullback, and they had a practice squad guy. And I'm thinking, well, how's he supposed to run his offense when everybody in the world knows they were not going to bother running the ball? So I don't think McCarthy is under. Maybe the GM was. I think the coaching staff was fine just based on history.
Let me ask you a little bit about the running game, especially Ty Montgomery and what he's able to do this season. Can you put into words, especially his transition from where he was at the beginning of the season to where he ended up?
That's pretty amazing, isn't it? I mean, I can't think of a person who's ever done this. I mean, I can remember guys going from running back to receiver. That's not unheard of. But this is amazing. Obviously, he ran a bunch of wildcat quarterback at Stanford, so there was that to lean on. He played running back in high school, so I mean he was not a total novice at it. But when you think of a running back, if you just want to think. If you put a receiver at running back, what would that be like? Well, you figure, he's going to be easy to tackle because receivers aren't, generally speaking. I know there are some exceptions here, but generally receivers aren't the most difficult guys to tackle. But I mean, he just runs through tackles. I mean, that Bears game a few weeks ago, I had him for breaking 10 tackles in that game. He broke a few last night. He's got a real good feel for where the sore spots are in a defense and how to slip out of tackles, and he runs with really good patience. He's done great. I think defenses have exploited his lack of pass protection experience. You saw some of that against the Lions last night in the Vikings game the week before that. So I think if you're a defense, you seem back, you might want to blitz, kind of force the Packers hand that way. But I mean, as far as just being a runner and playmaker, he's been a savior. He really has. Mm-hmm.